Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome back to the 1K World Cup quarterfinals. We have yet another winner's bracket matchup here for you today as we roll right along to the end of what has been a very exciting weekend so far. We have China taking on the United States C team for this matchup to see who will make it into that winner's semifinals. As always, my name is Sparky, and I am joined in commentary booth this time around by none other than Era Sunny. Sunny, how you doing?
Hello, Sparky. Things are going well. I hope I don't have any more issues this time with my microphone. But anywho, this is a winner's bracket match. A pretty decent matchup today. We have China.
Yeah, China taking on USC, and I mean, to be fair, both of these teams pretty evenly stacked up against each other. It'll be very interesting to see how this one turns out. And right now, just settling some lobby logistics, probably going to get into the warm-ups before too long. So as it stands, gonna get into that first one here. Believe this is probably China's if I were to harken a guess here. Pretty decent length, pretty decent star rating as well.
Oh man, is this SV? Or is
Looks
everyone
like
just playing on the slowest scroll speed possible?
Oh yeah, it actually does have some SV, so...
And I think this is China's warm-up, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I think they submitted this one, but honestly, this is pretty on par for the difficulty of this round, at least in terms of some of these stream patterns. So could give us some information, but of course sight reads for some players on SV can be a little dubious, so take the scores with a grain of salt as we make our way through this. I imagine we'll probably see a second warm-up if USC has something prepared, but wouldn't be surprised if they just decided to forego it, just wanting to get right into the thick of things here, but
I know Basil has some 1-key charts. I believe they have their own 1-key pack that I believe was used, that they decided to use as their warm-up last week in their match. So who knows? Maybe they do have a warm-up.
Potentially, but I mean, in terms of overall expectations for this match, I imagine we're going to see both these teams want to stay for the rice and speed picks in this pool, and whoever dives down into that LN hybrid and really shows their hand in terms of how accurate they are could potentially just end up winning this match outright. I feel like with matchups as tight as this, it's those fine margins when you get into the lower half of the map pool that really separates those good teams from the great teams, at least in this winner's bracket.
Yeah, this is Seed 3 versus Seed 6. China being the 3rd seed, while the USC team being 6th. So both of these teams doing very well, I believe, in the round of 16. I believe they both swept their opponents, if I'm correct. China, sweeping Germany A, and USC sweeping 99% Canadian to get their way here. So they do have some knowledge or they do have a bit of skill up their sleeves here. And just like that, that will conclude the first warm-up. And we are going to see a warm-up. Oh boy. What? The Spectre Tyler's Foot hardstyle edit cut version.
This is a 4-key map.
This is actually a 4-key map?
This is no. It's supposed to be 1K.
And then
We're playing a 1K tournament. Why are you submitting 4K? Unless you have 4 people with you to play every individual lane. No, we're not playing this.
We've seen 4-key warm-ups. We've seen Taiko warm-ups.
I think we've seen standard warm-ups too. But that's for a joke. This is this is a little like 1% more serious.
Oh boy.
So,
I love how
the basil pack.
I love how this has no audio. I can't hear a thing.
Yeah. It's probably for the best. Saves us the risk of DMCA, so
Oh yeah, losing the YMCA.
yeah.
So if we did have audio, this would probably be the last time you'd hear us for a solid 57 seconds.
Yeah. Though to be fair, we have managed to commentate our way out of DMCA. At least we've been told. In previous VODs, LN2 hot chocolate is usually the one that gets the mute. We've managed to commentate through that to where it actually gets heard in the background. So, we are apparently stronger than the DMCA sometimes. So we'll see if we can do that as well on this one.
I don't think the client's stronger than the YMCA or stronger than this map, as it looks like we have some technical difficulties. Please stand by, and oh, never mind.
Yeah, just wanting to get everything resettled. I think it's a pretty decent sized pack. It's just a wall of streams.
Yes, the wonderful sound of keychat, or the hit soundings.
This reminds me of 40M from last year.
Oh,
wasn't it? There was some map that was getting copyright struck, and somebody did a cover or a tapping cover.
40M4. That was 40M4 when Pataraj, it was called China. The map was called China, and Pataraj had to play the map and mute the audio, so it was only his key tap. So the key taps were synced to the actual map on stream.
That is impressive. So, probably sparing us the pain of having to listen to the actual song, and we'll probably switch to the tiebreaker to bring back the audio here. So, good thing is pretty short warm up.
Is this just like CRT but like on steroids?
No, I think this is probably a little bit more playable, but still pretty hard overall.
Yeah, it's actually CRT off the steroids.
Yeah, it's a
anywho
plasma screen TV.
Yeah, it is a Samsung OLED 80-inch television with the smart TV
with Dolby Atmos. Whatever new fancy technology. I just want to be able to see pictures on my screen. That's my bar.
And we're gonna see a 51 from China for the roll, and a 63 from USC, which means they will be getting that first pick, and China will be getting the first ban. I would not be surprised if we see a speed ban, seeing just the sheer strength of the United States team. I know they have... Actually, we're going to see an LN1 ban, surprisingly enough. I mean, knowing Basil and I believe another one of their players, I believe Corey, very good at speed, especially Basil. Their speed is super, like, only a few can really match up with that kind of speed. So I'm actually kind of surprised China didn't want to take the risk or not take any risks and immediately get rid of that speed pick.
Maybe for feeling up to the task. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off. You were gonna say?
I was gonna say probably maybe one of the hybrids or the LNs could definitely also get a ban from USC, I know that's not their strongest suit, so maybe we're going to see double LN ban, honestly. We could see Hot Chocolate get the ban, especially with that tricky doublet section in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That could be an option.
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely a pretty interesting banning phase so far. I mean, to China's credit, I imagine they probably feel confident enough to go toe-to-toe with USC on the more rice-oriented picks. The fact that the speed pick this time around is almost purely rice-based as opposed to Lies from last round that had a plethora of LNs. I
Yeah,
imagine.
I would call that hybrid 4, actually. That's why I called it, because of most of the LNs that were in there. I would call it hybrid 4.
Yeah.
But anywho, still waiting for their ban. The timer is about to expire. And honestly, they could also get rid of Step by Step. That has some tricky 1/6, and it goes on for very long. I don't see. I'm actually going to see an SV ban. Radiant going to get banned. Maybe it's kind of shocking too, since Basil is one of the top United States SV players. I believe reaching the podium on SV Summer Exhibition 2 alongside with me, putting up solid scores. Seeing an SV pick getting banned with Basil on the team is definitely something. But anywho, maybe just didn't have a second player to back them up with. But it will be USC's pick. I wouldn't be surprised if they immediately jump to that Rice range. Maybe like Masamune or Ghost could be something for the pick of the litter for the USC.
Yeah, that or they could potentially go for something a little bit more straightforward. Dopamine and Angel Dust on the other side of the rice pool, also up for debate. That or, I mean, that speed pick got left open. Could potentially go into it just to start things off, just really push the tempo here and maybe get a feel for the physicality from China regarding their ability to handle some of these higher BPM bursts. And if that goes well enough for them, it does open Angel Dust for a good follow-up for them. Or
Yeah.
they could just completely do a 180 on the picks and go for something like the hybrid, something like energy inflation to start things off. Probably the easiest of the picks,
And we're
but
going to see
no,
Rice 4.
it's gonna be Ghosts. So starting with arguably the hardest map in this pool.
Yeah, I know Masamune has a pretty tricky timing beginning, but Ghost, sure, Rice 2 has that timing beginning, and that's it. Ghost is just the whole thing. The whole thing is just charted to a guitar that is always changing timings every other second.
Yeah. One could argue it has that live map feel because it is such a freely interpreted guitar. It's going to be very interesting to see how these players handle the undulating snapping variations during some of those trickier streams. It is going to be Basil and Corey for USC going up against Lube and Formless from the side of China here. Both these teams have yet to drop a point in this tournament so far after one round. That is going to change before the end of today for at least one of these two rosters.
Yeah, as we are waiting for everyone to ready up, it looks like Basil and Corey have been the dynamic duo for the more Rice side of things. They have been having prominence in Rice, of course, Basil being one of the top Rice players in this tournament. I'd say they put up very good scores in from last week's round of 16. Even, I believe, choking a 1 million on one of the Rice picks, if I'm correct. But this has stepped up a couple notches. But seeing how you can easily just treat those as probably 1/6 or 1/8 streams, you could probably cheese your way through this.
Mhm.
but we're gonna have to see.
Yeah, this could go either very well or very bad for either of
For
these countries very quickly.
yeah, I was about to say the same. And so far, everyone V2 double S'ing, but then there's a finally getting down to earth after that beginning. A little bit of a, this is like the only comp section you'll ever get, and then it just everything gets thrown at you.
Yeah, going into the Hertha sections here, everybody making it through unscathed within a couple of tenths of a percent. Formless actually picking up a little bit of damage, dropping down into that 98% range. Lube falls as well in terms of their accuracy. Below that 99% mark, both Corey and Basil hanging on incredibly strong, especially Corey, 99.8% accuracy through this opening burst of difficult streams to read through. Basil holding on to the FC as well, boding very well for this USC roster on their first pick. 26,000 points and climbing at the moment, despite all 4 FCs still left on the board here.
Yeah, 30,000 point difference. It's just sheer accuracy from Corey and Basil, kind of just carrying along through this map as Formless and Lube are still down at that 98 range.
Yeah, gonna need to pick up the pace or hope for a couple of misses. That lead is dwindling though, as Corey picking up a multitude of bad judgments and the miss there at the very end of the chart. An 8th left to go. No trade from China here. Both FCs still holding on strong. Basil's doing their best to try and carry the performance, but at the end
I think it's
of
too
the map,
late.
the worst point to find the drop, and China at the 11th hour pulls the break point out of the bag here to make it 1-0 to start this match off.
Oh man, even with just with those sheer accuracy drops, it just came down to who can hold on the FC the longest. And even with Basil's astronomically good 200 count and only that 100, it wasn't enough for USC to take that point, as China will be taking the first break point of this match and opening this match right open and going right into race 2.
We're gonna see some swaps here from China. Gonna see Lice check in. Gonna wait to see who that second player is for China here. Something a little bit more straightforward. As you mentioned, the real difficult portion of this chart is that introduction. It's basically a blind start into a 1-4 stream. And if you started off on the wrong foot, once the audio really starts to kick in and you get a grasp for where you're supposed to be, it's basically game over at that point, and the rest is just recovery. Formless comes back in. They're just double checking some settings here before coming in to back up their teammate. Basil and Corey staying put here.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if Basil and Corey do stay in for this pick. They are the dynamic race duo, like I mentioned. I mean, seeing what they did last map, it would make total sense to see them still stay in for this next pick.
Yeah, they're basically the mantle carriers for this USC roster. Looking to try and take that breakpoint back. Definitely capable of doing it. It'll be interesting to see how they do on something a little bit more straightforward. Ghost, very much the 50-50 pick of this rice pool. Just unfortunate not to see it through to the end. They did have a pretty sizable advantage going into that ending, so they can build that up again and keep the misses from coming out. Should be pretty plain sailing for them, especially with Lice checking in. A bit of an unknown for this match, at least. See how they do.
And here we go with Masamune. We're going to see a little bit of a swap in from a little bit of a roster change. We're going to see, oh my goodness, I'm going to butcher that name. Lays BGVI. Yeah, Lays, I think, would be a perfect name. And looks like everyone hitting that little timing section very well. And going in with a little bit of a galloping section before. This is actually pretty much the majority of this map. China edging an early lead out of that first section, as Corey and Basil are trying their hardest to match up with the likings of Lace and Formless, as Formless picking up a couple 300s as they drop their accuracy down to the 99.8 range. And you can put a stamp between that lead, and we are virtually tied with just China having the slightest of lead over USC, and even it seems like every third second it switches over to the blue team for a solid half a second.
Yeah, basically a virtual tug-of-war between these two countries at the moment. Neither team really giving an inch going into this next slowdown. Everybody nails it, holding on to a four-way 99.8% mantle to stand upon. It is really just which of these two teams blinks first, picks up that first 200 to really turn the tide, because that's probably the margin that these two are playing with. It is hundreds of a percent as Lice finds the drop in the calm section before we start to build back up into it, and it is the opening that the USC needed to start building up a bit of an advantage. It is 2/10%, but Basil trades it back. Equally as clean though. Both of them in that 99.6 range. Blaze having a bit of a head start in terms of getting back up over that 400 combo cap. So that just starts to chip away at the advantage. It's a battle between Corey and Formless at the moment, basically neutralizing each other as their teammates start to try and build back their accuracy to lend their support as well. It is flickering between these two countries going into the last quarter of the chart. Anything can still happen here.
And now that lead is going back on the side of China. It's just by the sheer of the difference of that misses from Lace and Basil. And there's not much map to go. There are still some sections. There are these gallops and streams that can turn anyone's score from good to absolute astronomical in just a blink of an eye. But that looks to be it, unless anyone finds any bad drops. It doesn't look to be in China. Will be capitalizing off their breakpoint by only just short of 4,000 points. And look at these ratios, 70 and 73 from Formless and Lace, 69 from Basil, and only 1/200 from all four of these players.
We were one judgment away from Lice and Basil tying their scores. It is
oh my goodness, yeah.
So nip-tuck between the two of them. Corey doing their best to try and keep Formless in check, but that 4,000 point difference between the two of them basically making the difference due to no fault of their own. That is an incredible run. But, I mean, with these two countries as good as they are on Rice, the margins are so fine that it's those tiny little mistakes that make all the difference here at the end of the day. And with USC up to pick once again, I wouldn't be surprised if they just stuck to their guns, tried to go for something like Rice 3, but wouldn't be surprised if they try changing things up here to go for something like energy inflation or quality control to maybe try and pull a fast one on China here, really test their ability to hit the LMs. But don't really see a world where that happens unless it absolutely need to.
Yeah, I honestly think the safest pick for United States C right now is to just go for that Rice 3 pick, go for Dopamine, or if you feel like you can out-ratio China, because we saw Basil had the best
cut out there at the end of that
ratio in the lobby, but it was by only one singular 300. And I mean, they could try to gamble on Angel Dust, but you're gonna have to pray. And they're actually gonna go for energy inflation hybrid 2.
Yeah, this is the mix-up that they're probably looking for. They're probably just debating which of these LN hybrids is like the least uncomfortable to play through for their team, and this is definitely the easiest one to get through relatively unscathed. Pretty straightforward overall, not a lot of major tripping hazards in terms of like 1.6, 1.8 bursts, but remains to see how things go here. Gonna see Minato check in for China. 2 backup Lace at the moment here.
Yeah, as we are just waiting on for everyone to ready up. I mean, you can basically just toss a coin in the air or flip a coin and decide whether you want Hybrid 1 or Hybrid 2, because those two can relatively be interchangeable for like how easy they are. I know Hybrid 1 has some of those 1.6 bursts that can definitely flip someone's score upside down if they are not careful enough. And Hybrid 2 is just mainly just those gallops that are kind of just in there. So I mean, it's kind of just a whether it's just a pick your poison type deal. but underway with Hybrid 2. It's really just going to be the pattern of these little LN sections, and then a little part where there's those gallops that can probably throw any of these players off if they are not careful.
Yeah, right now, again, fine margins for both of these countries, just not allowed to have even a lapse in concentration, lest they give over a monumental, near insurmountable advantage because of the fact that those mistakes are few and far between these four players at the moment. It is separated by a net margin of, I'd say, about 0.02% between all four of these players, virtually deadlocked once again. But Minato finding the first slider break in this map, gonna drop it down a couple of tenths of a percent and give the US a bit of a cushion to work with once again. Can they hang on to it this time around? 9,000 points, a little bit more buffer to work with, but we've seen leads like that disappear in an instant. It just takes one bad section to really throw things into disarray once again here.
And yeah, as we are getting into the final third of this map to go, I mean, there are still these gallops and streams to go through that could trip up one of the players on the side. Oh, the CT of the USA, and there's one from Basil, but that was a very clean drop. But that lead is starting to shrink, but I don't think there's enough time. We're gonna have to see another one. Wait, hold on a second. I take back everything I say. I take back everything I say. That lead is going back to China.
Yeah, Minato now back over that 400 combo cap, able to make a full contribution to Lace's run here, but it is nip and tuck here going into the final portion of this chart. Basil not going to be able to get back up to that 400 combo cap. Going to need to 320 their way through this and hope for a final choke from the side of China. It's going to be 2,500 points, the margin of victory for China on this pick. And I mean, it is so close between these two. But it is 3-0 in favor of China as they go straight into Rice 3.
A V1 double S from Corey. And oh no, it was the curse of the keyboard or the hardware issue that bit Basil on that section.
Yeah,
it was
a little blip.
And just like that, they will be going for Rice 3. This is China's second breakpoint. And we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see a monumental comeback from the. I mean, it could happen from the United States C team. They are going for dopamine, which is very simple.
Yeah, simple in structure, easy to trip up on. That OD 9.5 really does punish the slightest bits of hesitation. If you're unsure of how those stream patterns are meant to transition, there are some triplet pattern structures that come straight out of 1/4 streams. So handling those stop and go type structures is going to be the name of the game for both of these countries. As we see Okuda Versona check in for China here, basically everybody having a chance to shine here. Lace being the real mainstay for their lineup at the moment.
Yes, I mean, things are definitely still in striking distance for the United States C team, and I mean, we saw Basil's accuracy,
Yeah, it's just those little blips here and there that just break the combo, and it's the timing of some of these misses as well. If they happen just a little bit later, they might have been able to hang on, but it's again fine margins that they're playing with, teetering on a knife's edge. As we make our way through this introduction, a bit of an accuracy drop from Corey to start things off. Gonna have plenty of time to try and rebuild their accuracy, but at the moment it is 7,000 points in favor of China going through this first quarter.
Yeah, and as we get into this more streamy-based section, now out of it with more just these gallops. As it stands, China having a slight lead as Corey did find some nasty judgments. The OD 9.5 really getting the best of them, as Basil is trying to keep things at bay here with their 99.81, trying to match up with the likings of Lice and Okura. And I think that's a 50, unless that's Bancho being...
I think Bancho's thinking. Might have done something here. So we'll keep tabs on what's going on here. It is 15,000 points in favor of China. That 50, if it is organic, could throw things into complete disarray. And we'll wait. Okay, that was... I was about to say that's a massive collapse, but no, it is just a bit of desync trying to make things a little bit spicy here. But that is going to be the draw from Okura on the slider break. The couple of LNs in here, tripping them up. It is 4,000 points in favor of the United States at the moment as they start to swing it back. But it was... Is there enough time? How is it swung back? It's the accuracy between the two countries. Corey down in that low 99% range, not enough to trouble the cushion that China had built up. And as we make our way to this ending, one more miss could do it, but with the amount of mistakes that they make are few and far between, there isn't going to be much margin. As we make our way through this ending, Basil doing everything in her power to try and swing it back into their favor, but without the supporting accuracy, there's not much they can do, and China makes it a match point situation to start this match off. It is now 4-0.
Yeah, match point for China. It is the USA's pick, though. They can go for what? Like, they could go for that Angel Dust pick and maybe take a pick off that, because it is very, very, very simple to go for. Like, honestly, I feel like as long as the USC team can pull off insanely good accuracies and not get those misses, then the USC team can definitely take a point off that. But they are being pushed against the wall here, with fighting for all their might here, as they are trying to avoid not being sent down to the losers bracket and not trying to avoid the sweep here.
Yeah, I imagine... I mean, it's so risky going for something like Angel Dust just because of the fact that it's just consistency streams. It really does just force you to hunker down and avoid getting 300. This is basically not allowed. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a speed pick come out here just to see if the BPM check is enough to see them over the line on at least one of these picks, but there's a world in which they go for something like Hot Chocolate. That's super risky. The hybrids, the other two hybrids remaining in this pool, I mean, energy inflation was going great until it wasn't, but quality control and step by step are, dare I say, a step harder than energy inflation in this pool, and it is going to be the speed pick coming out here.
Yeah, this is their like last minute resort here.
Yeah, just a final gambit sort of map. Definitely have the physicality to swing a good score on it. It's just a question of, can you force China into making a mistake on this pick? We'll see some substitutions from them. They've been using their full complement of players. I don't think we've seen Lube though in this match. Probably just waiting in reserve for their time. Maybe not the maps that they perform best on, but having a rotation of 4 players that can all equally swing out some pretty nasty scores is definitely a boon to have going further into this tournament.
Yeah, as we are going in with the speed pick, the only thing I can really take note of is those very fast 1/8s that are mixed in with, I believe, some... like 1/4, because this is 270, with some of those 1/3s that are sprinkled in between as well. That can definitely slip up a player if they are not careful enough. And this is a very short map, less than 2 minutes long, compared to Light Lives being a bit longer, I believe, and a bit more stamina draining as well. Light Lives being just over 2 minutes, and just overall a bit more of a hassle than what we have here.
And during that conversation, Liu checking in for China. So all 5 players from China have contributed in one way, shape, or form to this match. That is incredible. Not very often we see a team run through all 5 of their players in a match to contribute. And as we get this one underway, handling the first opening 1/8 very nicely as we continue through here.
Yeah, it's just more or less, can you hit 270 very, very solid? And it looks like Basil is keeping Formless in check while Corey is out-acting Liu at this very moment, as they are going into more of these very tricky speed sections that do kind of transition in and out with these doublets that can definitely slip up. And there's a rush of 200s, or only a rush of one singular 200 from Corey that won't be doing much. Yeah, but there's a miss from Corey. That will do a whole lot. And now that lead is going onto the side of China, and there's another one. That's a 16,000 point difference now as we are halfway through the map. There's another one from Corey now, as it's 25,000 and climbing on the side of China. And it doesn't look to be stopping anytime soon as we're going into the final third of the map. Basil now still trying to keep Formless in check while Corey is climbing up. Actually, there's a miss from Liu. Signs of life are being shown from USC as Liu finds one miss, but that's one miss too short. So 200.
Rush of 200s, able to recover before this long stream. Oh, and the trade between Liu and Corey. This is going to come down to the wire here. They are both at similar accuracies, but the extra misses from Corey might have done just enough damage to keep China in front. Remains to be seen. There's a couple of nasty bursts. Liu finds another drop. It's going to come down to the wire. 7,000 points.
More.
Last couple of notes.
This final section.
Oh, it's not enough.
Oh my goodness, China will be sweeping the United States C team, even with the V1 double S from Basil, 992K, and the 989 from Formless, a FC from them, and overall solid scores from everyone. Overall, it just wasn't enough, and unfortunately, we're gonna have to say, actually not say goodbye to the United States C team. They will be going down to that losers bracket though, and we'll have to fight down there, while China will be advancing to the winners semifinals to verse Australia A next weekend. While the United States C team will be dropping down to the losers bracket to either verse the Netherlands or France next week. But for now, congratulations to China for securing their semifinals ticket in the winners bracket, as now there were only 2 matches left.
Yep, and the next match is going to take place in about 23 minutes. Not a long turnaround, and it's going to be the match that will decide who the USC team is going up against. It's going to be Netherlands versus France. Winner will take on the United States C, as I mentioned. And that is a losers bracket match. That does have major implications, fighting for their tournament lives already. It'll be very interesting to see. But for right now, we're going to take a bit of a break. Probably keep the stream up just muted. Enjoy the tunes in the meantime. And we'll catch you guys in just a little bit. Take care.
Goodbye, everyone.